Hey everyone, I'm Jeremiah. I want to welcome you to the New Life Counseling YouTube channel. Hey, we're going to talk today about a concept that is found within the area that is more commonly known today, known as neurodiversity. And within the umbrella of neurodiversity, I just want to talk very briefly about this one section of the umbrella called ADHD, which of course separates into a couple different other subsegments. ADHD, what are we talking about here? Well, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive or hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. Now, there has been a ton of confusion and changes throughout the years regarding this topic of ADHD. And I just want to kind of give a real quick snapshot just so we understand. See, back in the day, we're talking like 30 years ago, okay, there was often what was known as the hyperactive focus, all right, the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That's the, if you ever had a kid in class and they couldn't sit still and they're just everywhere and squirrel, look at that, and they're there and they're just everywhere, bouncing, Tigger, all right, of Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, all right, definitely a good example of the ADHD character, all right, and that hyper side, okay, very active, over alert, okay, but this is where there was a lot of confusion back in the day and even today, because there was another term that you may have heard called ADD, and that was attention deficit disorder. Now, I don't mind the term. It actually helped to separate the two. But what happened a couple years ago in what is known as the Diagnostic Statistical Manual text revision, all right, DSM, fifth version, all right, TR, text revision, and probably it started kind of ish around the fourth one, but more in the fifth version of it. What they did was they fifth version kind of put it into more of like a spectrum concept. So they decided we're just going to call it ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, okay, or hyperactive disorder. And so with that, all right, it's more of like a spectrum. So over here, you got the hyper side. Over here, you have what is more commonly known as the inattentive side. Okay, we'll talk about those differences in just a sec. In the center of those two worlds, some people tend to have, a little bit of it over here, a little bit over here, and that's what they call a combo type. Very broad. There are other definitions and examples that are out there. So if you follow a different one, by all means, that's totally fine. This is just what I go through and what I have been learned and teach, et cetera, et cetera. So in that, you've got the hyper side, which we talked about. Okay. Then we have the inattentive style. Okay. The part where maybe they're quiet, but they're very focused when they're interested in something. That actually can be what's known as a hyper-focus. Both of these, by the way, deal with this. There's often what's known as a hyper-focus. It's kind of one of the litmus tests I find sometimes. It's like, man, I'm really interested in doing this. And next thing you know, I spent like, oh my gosh, 8 hours. I thought it was only an hour that I was working on this project. Yeah, but you're done, Whereas you can have the other extreme where it's like, oh, I'm so bored. Oh, when is this going to end? Hey, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? Oh, it's so boring. Well, how long have you been sitting here like that? 2 minutes. It feels like an eternity. Hey, if that resonates with you, might be interesting to have a discussion on, right? To think about and to consider, especially if you've never been diagnosed or maybe it was a misdiagnosis, which happens all the time. I would actually suggest a lot of the misdiagnosis, though, today within the realm of ADHD is actually within, from my observable opinion, okay, just an opinion, observably, is what is found within the inattentive side because they're quiet. They don't get as trouble as much. They're not like the hyperactive side. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? Or gets the meds, I guess, in the ADHD style. And the hyper side of things, right? The inattentive, though, is often very quiet and is zoned out and has no clue what's going on, does not want to learn what they're learning, is struggling what they're learning. Now, of course, there are other neurodivergent issues that are very similar but different with what I'm talking about today. I'm just talking about the inattentive style of ADHD in this moment. So those are where, when they are diagnosed or misdiagnosed, at the end of the day, when a person comes into my office, it doesn't matter. But if it's getting in the way of your ability to be productive, proactive in your daily events, whether it's home, whether it's at work, whether it's your business, whatever that is, sometimes it's important to come in to someone who understands and has worked with this for a while to be able to get some strategies to be able to support you so you can be successful in what you're doing and actually allow it as what many of us in my field actually consider a gift. Yeah, you heard me. It can be a gift. It is not a curse. It is a gift. But that gift has to be cultivated and it has to be grown and developed, whether for some it is on medication, whether it's without medication. And the cool thing is I've met and supported many that have been on meds, and I'm glad they're on their meds. And I've met many who are not on medication for whatever their system or reason is. And they're being successful as well because both have to learn those strategies in order to be successful. Hey, let's take a quick brief moment to talk about medication. What's up with the meds? Well, just so you know, the one that most people are familiar with from 30, 35, even 40 years ago is what is often known as Ritalin. That was what is sometimes considered by some as a first generation medication to support ADHD. The problem was it burnt out of the system so fast. So it worked for an hour or two. And now what? Jump years later, we're in our third, even fourth generation medication with ADHD medication. And often many of them are what's called time-released capsules, okay? And that's all I'm gonna mention about that. Whether a person chooses to be on medication or not, that is ultimately your choice. But I'll never forget, with a specialist within the ADHD community here in Calgary, I asked him one time and I was like, hey, I got a question about this med. Tell me, should someone go on it or not? And the challenge is this: ADHD medication is one of those things you either are all in or don't bother and figure out the other systems and strategies that are out there in order to not be on medication. A little bit of a cognitive extreme or distortion from my liking or perspective, but that is okay. I get it, because you can't just take meds and then get off the meds, get on the meds, get off the meds. It can really mess up a system physiologically, I should say, within the body chemistry. So it is one of those things that many of them recommend. You either do it and this is it for the rest of your life, or depending where a person's at. This is the difference now between discussions I might have with a parent who has a child versus, or a doctor more specifically, or a psychiatrist might have with them, versus the adult that maybe comes in this office going, yeah, pretty sure I got this ADHD thing, but I don't really want to take meds, and I'm not sure, but I do need some strategies because I know it's not working at home. It's not working at work. Well, the good news is there's lots of things we can do. And by the ways, if you are on medication, you still got to work on the same thing, because at the end of the day, when you are taking these medications, they only, even if it's time released, last so much. It's kind of like a rubber band. It has this tension to hold it together, and then blah, 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 it's done. When is that? That's why many medications for kids, they'll take it in the morning, or the doctor requests them, from what I've observed, to take it in the morning. And then at around that 3-4 o'clock time is when it ends. So, many parents, they're like, man, I'm so frustrated. I don't know what to do. I'm like, oh, what do you mean? Well, my kid's on medication, but I wouldn't know if they were on it or not. Well, yeah, because it's meant to support them, to make a difference, and to get their education completed. So that way they're good at school and can stay focused and attend to task. That's why you still got to work on these strategies with your kid when they get home, because they're basically not on the medication when they get home. All right. Same thing with the adult. Hey, maybe you're taking your medication as an adult and you're doing it, you're getting your job done at work and you're like, yes, this is so much better. This is so good. But you still got to figure out your strategies because if you're in a relationship, if you have kids at home and you're ADHDing out on everybody, you got to figure out what those strategies are in order to be successful at home now. Okay. Or during the weekend, et cetera, et cetera. All right, lots more to talk about. If this is a topic you're interested in, please click like and subscribe. Send in the comments below, like, yeah, please, let's talk a little bit more, have another conversation about ADHD. All right, lots to explore and talk about. All right, everyone, I want to hope the best of wherever you're at and have a great wherever you're at. Okay, we'll catch you later, YouTube.